Alright, we've got a classic surd equation. A surd is a root, so when I see this root, I know it's a surd equation. So without solving for x, we need to show that the solution lies in between 2 and 4. So we're going to use the principle with the square root that you can't square root a negative. Because when you square root negative numbers, you get non-real stuff and your calculator freaks out and gives you a math error. So what's underneath the square root has to be positive, and how I say that mathematically is like this. What's under the square root must be greater than or equal to 0. That's another way of saying it's positive. And then I just move this 2 over and I get x is bigger than 2. And then that's basically half of our solution. You can see the crocodile is eating x here. The crocodile is also eating x here. So to get the other half, this needs to be bigger than 0. And the reason why is when you square root something, you're going to get something that's positive. Now I know what you might be thinking. If I square root 9, it's going to give me positive 3 and negative 3. But they've gotten rid of the negative. You see how there's no plus minus in front of the root here. So that's why we can just assume that this side is going to be bigger than or equal to 0, and then I take this x over and it becomes positive. And now we've got the other half of our solution. You can see how the crocodile eats 4 there, the crocodile also eats 4 there, so I can kind of like mash these together into this inequality. X needs to be bigger than 2, but at the same time x needs to be smaller than 4. And presto mundo, we are done with this question. Let's have a look where the 2 marks come from. So your 2 marks purely come from these 2 lines, modeling the right stuff to be bigger than 0. Next up, we've been asked to solve the equation. So I'm going to grab the equation quickly. And then I want to make sure the root is on its own. There's no like plus 3 or minus 3 in front of it. So it is on its own. So that means I'm going to square both sides. When I square this side, the square gets rid of the root. That's actually why we square both sides, to get rid of this root. Then over here, I'm going to write the bracket twice. The square is giving me instructions to write the bracket twice to set myself up for foiling. Okay, so let's go ahead and FOIL these 2 brackets. And after we FOIL, we have a little quadratic equation on our hands. I knew that because I saw x squared over here. So I want to get my standard form, factorize, and all that jazz. So to get standard form, I need the right order. So I'm going to put the x squared first over here. I want the ones with x's in the middle. So I'm going to keep this in the middle. And I'm going to bring that x over to the middle here. Just keep in mind when I take this over, it turns into negative x. And then the 16 will go at the end, and I'm also going to bring this minus 2 over to the end. And now that I've taken everything over from this side, this is a 0. There's nothing left over there. It's kinda my bro. So now let's quickly sort out these like terms here and here, as well as here and here, and then our standard form is done and we can start factorizing. Right, so our standard form, I need to look at the factors of 18, that'll give me negative 9. 1 and 18 will not work. 2 and 9 will not work. 6 and 3, I think that will work. And then to get that negative 9 in the middle, I'm going to have to say minus 3, minus 6. And then I can formulate my 2 brackets. My first bracket will be x minus 3. And my second bracket will be x minus 6. And now I can jump to my 2 solutions of 3 and 6. Okay, now we're not quite done. This is a surd equation, so you've got to be careful. One of these solutions is probably not valid. And they actually kind of try to give us a clue about that in the previous question. So in the previous question, we established that the solution for this equation lies in between 2 and 4. And only one of these answers is in between 2 and 4. It's a 3. 6 is not in between 2 and 4. So we have to reject the 6 to get our full marks over here. And we just do that by putting a stroke through this equal sign. And lastly, let's have a look where our 4 marks are coming from. It will come from squaring both sides, standard form, the correct factors, and choosing the right answer of x equals 3.